Bride's mother stumbles upon photograph that has her thinking twice about her son-in-law. When two people are about to get married and spend their whole lives together, they genuinely know almost everything about each other. However, this story of one couple made us rethink everything. Heidi Parker and Ed Savitt had dated for over 4 years. And when they had just moved in together, Heidi's mother learned a shocking truth. Heidi's mother had found a photo that would change the whole course of Heidi and Ed's relationship, and ultimately their lives too. Heidi Alice Parker was born in 1991 in the city of Sheffield, South Yorkshire, to Kay and Keith Parker. Heidi had always been a loving daughter, and she considered her mom to be one of her best friends. She graduated from high school and spent the first 20 years of her life in her hometown, living in her parents' house. When she finished high school, Heidi was ready for a new challenge in her life. She considered enrolling in college away from her home, partly because she wanted to gain a bit of independence. Heidi was over her head with college applications because she wanted to make the right choice for her future. She applied to several schools but ultimately settled on enrolling at Newcastle University in England. Little did she know that the choice would prove to be one of the best things she had ever done. It brought her the love of her life. Or that was what she thought, at least. When she moved to Newcastle, she first decided to live on campus in one of the student housing dorms with a few roommates. She quickly made friends, and she was doing great. However, after a few months of being in the dorms, she realized that she was not really living the independent life she had sought. After a whole lot of thinking, she decided to move out and start living alone in a studio apartment near campus. Heidi found the new place pretty quickly and was rather excited about starting a whole new life on her own. She spent days organizing and decorating her new place, and finally, on the day she moved out, Heidi went to the front office of her old dorm room to give the keys to the new tenant and leave that place for good. However, destiny had slightly different plans for her. Minutes after she had settled in her new apartment, she got a weird message on Facebook from the guy named Ed Savitt. Namely, he was the new tenant she had handed the keys to in the front office earlier that day. Supposedly, he didn't know how to use it. Way to go, Ed. What a pickup line. Ed Savitt was born in 1991 in Putney, southwest London, to parents Fiona and Jonathan Savitt. Apparently, he had also lived for quite too long with his parents and decided it was time for him to turn a new leaf and start life on his own. That is how he ended up in the student dorms at Newcastle University. When Heidi got the message from Ed, she was rather surprised, but, as she later admitted, decided to answer and help him because he was hot. After trying and failing to explain how to use the washing machine over Facebook messages, Heidi decided to go back to the student flat and show poor Ed the process in person. We can't help but wonder whether she would have been so nice if it had been someone less hot. When Heidi got there, Ed was already waiting for her with a basket full of dirty laundry. She showed him the whole process of how to use the machine, and she even stuck around to see him repeat the process on his own, just to be sure he understood. When she was about to leave, Ed stopped her, asking her the question that would eventually turn both of their lives upside down. From the moment Heidi saw Ed, she hoped he would ask her out, and he did. Ed asked if she would like to go out with him to the cafe next to the campus. Heidi was more than excited and immediately said yes. I thought he was gorgeous. I thought he was actually amazing. All I can remember thinking is, wow, he is hot, Heidi later remembered. Heidi and Ed clicked almost instantly. After spending a few hours together, they quickly realized they were meant for each other. They both liked the same things and enjoyed each other's company. After their first date, they became inseparable, and soon they fell head over heels for each other. It was love at first sight, or so they thought. Heidi and Ed became true college sweethearts. They were always together, and things were getting serious. In 2015, they graduated from college, and both Heidi and Ed were ready for a new chapter in their lives. The lovebirds moved to London because Heidi wanted to pursue her new PR job and Ed wanted to make his dream of opening a cafe come true. However, they were still living separately. Heidi and Ed had been dating for over 4 years when they decided to move in together. Things were getting progressively serious, and the couple didn't want to spend a single minute without each other anymore. By that time, Heidi and Ed had got pretty close and they knew, or at least they thought they knew, everything about each other. However, the upcoming meeting of the two families uncovered long-forgotten truth that would change everything. After moving in together, the next natural step in their relationship was the introduction of the families. More precisely, of the two moms. Both Heidi and Ed were rather nervous about it, probably because they subconsciously felt something big was coming. They booked their favorite restaurant and prepared everything for the momentous meeting. The day finally came when the two mothers joined Heidi and Ed for a wonderful dinner at London's restaurant. Kay Parker and Fiona Sevitt hit it off almost instantly. They chatted the night away, sharing stories about their kids. Everything was going smoothly and everybody enjoyed their dinner. However, Heidi and Ed were still pretty nervous, and they would soon reveal why. In the middle of the dinner conversation, Heidi and Ed asked for a little bit of attention because they were about to make an important announcement: their engagement. The college sweethearts were planning to get married by the end of the year. Their mothers became ecstatic, and they couldn't stop smiling because their babies were getting married. Once the initial shock had subsided, the company continued with their dinner conversation and shared a bunch of stories about their lives. However, one story that Heidi's mother Kay told that night was about to mess with everybody's heads. Namely, Kay mentioned a time when her family vacationed in Turkey in 1997, when Heidi was only 6 years old. Never in the wildest dreams did she know that this story would turn out to be a total game changer. Kay moved on to say that Heidi, aged only 6, found her first boyfriend while on vacation. She was crazy in love with a certain blonde boy, and the two kids spent most of their days hanging out together and holding hands. Although the story was quite funny and interesting, Kay quickly changed the subject, fearing that it might make Ed and his mom uncomfortable. By the end of the dinner date, a lot of stories and laughs had been shared, and everybody had a blast. It was time to go home. However, although she was rather excited about her daughter finding the love of her life, Kay couldn't help but feel something was a bit off with her future son-in-law, and she wasn't ready to let it go. A few weeks following the dinner date, Kay almost forgot about the story she had shared and the feeling she had had about her daughter's future husband. She went to the attic to clean it up for the future wedding presents. However, she found something that would finally confirm all of her doubts. She stumbled upon the 20-year-old photo album that would shed a completely new light on the soon-to-be son-in-law. The photo album Kay found had Gumbit, July 1997 written on it. Kay rushed through the family photos as if she was looking for something specific, and there it was, the long-lost blonde boy from the vacation in Turkey, Heidi's first love, the boy named Ed. When she saw the boy's face, her suspicions were confirmed. The blonde boy Ed from the photos was the very same Ed her daughter was about to marry. Upon realizing the shocking truth, Kay rushed to the phone to check her suspicions, with someone who knew Ed the best, his mom Fiona. Immediately after Kay texted Fiona the photo, Fiona called her and settled the matter. It was really him. It was definitely love at first sight, but the sight had happened way before they all imagined. When Kay sent me the photo of a little boy called Ed, I shrieked, "Oh my goodness, that's Ed!" It was unbelievable, Fiona said. Kay and Fiona couldn't wait to tell the news to the soon-to-be newlyweds. When my mom found the first photo of us, she sent it to me and I was stunned. I actually had to lie down, Heidi said in an interview. She moved to say that Ed had also been amazed and that he couldn't believe his ears. Whether you believe in destiny or not, no one can deny that these two were destined to end up together. It wasn't just Heidi and Ed that found each other, but both families became more interconnected. Now that the truth was out in the open, more photos and memories emerged with both families spending time together on vacation. After that moment, Kay and Fiona became best friends, along with their husbands becoming best buddies. They even started vacationing together again. Aw, how cute. After finding out the truth about how they met, Heidi and Ed couldn't help but use the old photos for their wedding invitations. They sent the invitations featuring their 6-year-old selves holding hands and melted the hearts of both family and friends. Well, if this doesn't scream soulmate, we don't know what does. Heidi and Ed tied the knot in 2016 at Haddon Hall in Derbyshire during a wonderful ceremony attended by their family and friends. The celebration was huge, and both the newlyweds and their guests had a blast. We had been together for 4 years when we found out, so it's mad to think that we might have never known. It's crazy to think we could have gotten married, shared our lives together, but never found out about this, Heidi said after the wedding. Following the wedding, the new husband and wife went to the Maldives for their honeymoon. They used the time together to reflect on everything that had happened to them and to celebrate their love for one another. It was brilliant. We love telling people how we met twice. And recently we have been back to Bodrum to see where we met. It was really exciting to go back to where the miracle began, Heidi said. Regardless of whether you believe in fairy tales or not, you can't deny the miracle behind this story of Ed and Heidi. It proves that there is always someone perfectly made for you, and all you need to do is believe you'll eventually find them, even if it happens on a vacation halfway across the world when you're only 6 years old. Their story brings back faith in love and also reminds us that no matter how well we think we know someone, we can still get surprised at what life has in store for us.